Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to build a platformer level. Nice, short, and sweet, and let's get to the point. Start building. Goodbye. So now we're going to create a new level, and it's going to be just named Flat Level, I know. And it's going to remain that name. That is not a placeholder. So, starting off by choosing a song and making the mood platformer, because that's kind of the point of the video. I use Back on Dash because it's not copyrighted and I don't want to get claimed. Just showing you guys that it is in platformer mode and adding some blocks. You know, we need a level for the level to be a level. I know, wow. Wow, I'm talking very fast. I'm putting 2 orbs here because I don't want this to just be like a side scroller level, but you can move left. I want this to be like a level that you're supposed to move left. I know. So I put a little wall here. I wanted you to not be able to skip the whole thing. So I'm doing the orbs and putting some platforms down. I want to do a little hanging structure. Hanging not by chains, but by the power to live. I don't know. This game makes you say weird things. So, finishing off the structure, that took me a lot longer than it needed to. And putting some spikes here so that you have to do a little bit of timing with this orb placement. I decided to put blocks here and some chains so it's not just floating in the air like the other platform. You know, the power of love and living is not enough to hold 2 structures, just one. And maybe a few later on in the video. So I put this spike here, realized that that's a really hard cue timing, so moved it. And then put this little half slab. Now I wanted to figure out, because if you go too far left in the level, in a platformer level, you literally can't go more left. So I'm just putting the pillar for where you, just so it's easier to tell where you can't go left anymore. And I realized I'm gonna make this a giant room, kind of. You'll see why, kind of. That will be revealed in a bit. So, always remember to put your corner pieces in. It drives me crazy when people don't. Unfortunately, the shading on the edges isn't as good. I know you can make a custom one, but that's a lot of work. And I don't want to do that, so I didn't do that. Putting these little edge blocks for the 1.0 styled, I don't even know what to call those. I guess the block, okay, fine. I don't know what they're supposed to mean, but they kind of exist. So I have these little slabs that I'm going to make passable in just a second. Didn't know they weren't passable, by the way. And if something is passable, that just means you can go through the bottom of it, but not the top of it. Kind of like a semi-solid brick from Mario. So I'm adding some platforms to kind of balance out the sides here. I had the platforms on the left side, so now I want some platforms on the right side. I put some ground spikes, some spikes there, and decided to playtest and finally realized that, hey, those blocks are a little not passable. Yeah, I just hit my head on those, so I don't want to hit my head on those. So I can go into these, go to extra, and make them passable. And then I just deleted these little blocks. Those blocks are for the creator tab. I'm going to talk a little bit more on it in a little bit. So, you'll know what I'm talking about. The custom objects. So here I decided to put a single spike jump. You know, we have to have a little bit of challenge. Not challenge, but gameplay, I guess you could say. We don't want it to be flat out just move right, move left, jump every once in a while. I want some jumps being consecutive. So I decided we're going to continue this part. Well, this is going to be a full-length platform level. It's going to be relatively short, but I still want it to be long enough to be longer than some people's YouTube Shorts attention spans. So I decided to put this little wall of spikes. You're probably like, how are you going to get past that? Well, I'm not going to get past that. We're going to do a dash orb straight up to the next part. And, well, this is the level so far. I decided to adjust the dash orb so that it can go a little bit faster. So it can go to like a 1.7 speed, make the max duration a little bit lower, not 0, which actually 0 is just infinite for some reason. I'm not 100% sure. It's not just like ends instantly. You have to do 0.01 for that. I put 0.6, which holds on for a little bit. And I decided to put some ground spikes here, just so that you will die if you miss a jump. We don't want you missing any jumps. That wouldn't be very good. Building up this pillar so that you can't really reach it. Can't reach the top. If you just try to jump, you can't. I'm structuring this part a little bit more because I do want this to be part of the level and not just a little side-scroller area. I don't want that. And yes, that works. Now it is time to get some of these blocks. We're going to make them passable once again. Accidentally hid them and then made them no touch. But that's fine. My muscle memory, I use those two the most often, so my muscle memory was kind of screwed with that one. I don't make platformer levels that often, so passable is really only using platformer levels. I know there's some classic levels I use it, but you know, it's fine. I love 2.2 with the whole platformer thing. You know, I thought it was going to be relatively jank, like the whole platformer thing, like, because this game is about being, like, scrolling to the right. But no, it's very fun, actually. There's some very clever levels that are used with this. There's a lot of fun levels with it, too. Decided to put some spikes in the earlier part just to make it feel a little bit more enclosed, a little bit more, not claustrophobic because you are in the air for this part, but I wanted to just feel a little bit closer to harder, I guess. I want it to be a little harder. This level's not going to be too hard. I mean, I am quite bad at making difficulty that I want to. When I made that GD World level, it was supposed to be 4-star. It ended up at least 8, but that's besides the point. This one I did actually end up being pretty easy. There's a few rough points, but there is a checkpoint in this level, which is like right before the rough points. So it's not overall too punishing. At the end of the video, we will have the level ID so you can play it yourself. I decided to just put a structure there that's impossible to get to. I don't know why I did that, but I did that, and you can't stop me. That's pretty much the whole level and pretty much everything I build, because I kind of can't do anything about it after it's been published. Sorry. So if you have any suggestions for any of these levels, this one's going to become public, so I'm not going to edit it. But for any level that I start or create, if you have suggestions, put them in the comments, because I try to read every single one. Those half spikes there are going to go soon. Just like, if you know, the pink dash orb last week. I wanted to do a little break from the layout series because I didn't want 3 videos of that back to back. I wanted to do a little something else, at least in the meantime. I decided to have the camera center around this circle object. I added it to group 1, and that static trigger will static the camera around it so it won't move until you hit another trigger. Then it will move. It has to have exit static on it. I put a start position here so it's just easier to play test, so I don't have to run through the whole thing to play test again. Realize that this jump is something called impossible. So I decided to make it possible by adding a little platform here. Now I've deleted these half spikes. It is possible to die to them. It's not much of a tough timing. You can definitely make that. I trust you. Am I being too trusting? Maybe, but I trust you. I did this little column here. I wanted it to go upside down here, and then you have to hit another orb in that little column. That blue pad is unnecessary outside of the place you're supposed to go. It just looks ugly. I decided to get rid of the camera static trigger for no reason, and I'm so confused why it didn't work. Then realized that I deleted the static thing. So now it works. Yay me, I am problem solving. I decided to hide this because making it invisible does still let the camera work. It just doesn't make the level look ugly. That's nice. Pretty good plus. I decided to put a blue orb here. I thought it felt fine. I was planning to put a yellow orb there, but then I realized that there was going to be like a weird dropper situation, and I didn't want to deal with that. And I wanted to do another dash orb thing, because I think that's fun. So there is something I want to talk about here, and since none of these slabs are passable, it's very annoying. I set it to a custom object tab, which is the tab that has the little C on it. And so I made this passable and deleted those blocks, put them back. You're probably wondering why. So I saved this as a custom object by hitting this little plus button. So now they're passable. So every time I place it, it's going to be passable. I don't have to actually edit it again. But I have to put those little blocks down because it would go into the middle of the block every time I wanted to edit it, and it just makes it really annoying. So putting those blocks on hide, it just works. So since there is no blocks up there, there's no upper boundary, so I have to add more blocks so that you don't die to the upper boundary. This level does use dynamic level height, which just pretty much means the highest block there is in the level plus however many blocks. That's where the death zone is. That's where you would die if you just keep going up. If you fly out of the world or whatever. If you've played any levels, primarily some of the RobTop levels, there are some points where you just fly up. And, well, you die because you went too high and you're flying into a bottomless pit. So it's still good. That's fair. So that's just the death zone, and it's like really weird. I don't know. I decided to make this last room kind of with a dropper. What I was trying to avoid earlier, but I think it worked. Honestly, was a little bit lazy what way I did it, maybe, but it's fine. So what I did next is if you see, I did the exit static trigger already. So this is going to just be a free doing room. It's not going to be stacked around the middle. So I decided I'm going to move this whole thing up. Because guess what? I can. I put a start position right here. and deleted that one so that this one would work. And then I wanted to just make this room work. I don't know, I put it up more so that it feels a little bit more. The reason I put these upwards dash orbs is because I wanted you to feel powerful when you hit them. You're going up, you're fighting against gravity. So I want you to feel powerful when you hit them. You're like, oh yeah, that rush of energy. It's like that dash orb was really awesome. Am I talking about it too much? Maybe, but it's fine because it does not, it's fine. So I decided to I decided to adjust the dash orb a little bit, then finally made a little bit of gameplay in this part. So I put this little corner thing, I put the corner block in. Again, always do that in your level. If you can, do it. It will never harm it. It will never harm the level to put a corner block in, ever. I just put those spikes there, because I wanted to. And I wanted you to drop through there to make you feel like you're actually going down. You're going back down to the ground, and I wanted this to feel, I don't know, like something. I had no prior, so for some of the levels I had like ideas for that I've made, like the NCS layout. I had some ideas. I wanted to do it very slopey. For this level, I was like, I want to make it a platformer level. And that's the whole idea. I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it. And this is what I've come up with, and I'm very happy with the result, which you will see in the showcase. Don't worry, there will be a showcase. So instead of putting a dash orb that goes down, because I feel like I didn't want the player to choose if they wanted to go down or not. I wanted it to be mandatory, of course. Also, there's some weird stuff with the dash orb that like you can just let go whenever. It's like whatever. I just didn't want to deal with it. So I decided to put this options trigger down and make you disable your controls. So if you go down, you can't hit left, right, no matter what you do. I decided I'm going to put a little platform here, which ended up not being a platform. I wanted to do a little design with this little middle section in the platform. I thought that looked cool until I realized I can actually make that into something. So my first idea that I didn't actually execute, but it was in my head when I was making this, I decided, what if I did like a ball part? Like a mini ball part where you just go up and down. And I was like, that's going to be a little boring. So I was like, what if I make you over so that you have the ground again, so you're not falling onto an earlier part of the level. What if I put some force blocks? So what a force block is, you move it, it's a little block, it has an arrow on it, and it just adds momentum in whatever way you want it to. So I put this force block here. If you see, I put the force to 4, which is pretty much force, a lot of force. And I just made this force go to the right and then down so that you drop. So you don't even need controls to do that, see? And then you drop to the ground, right to the right of this part that we did earlier. So I decided to have you drop on a little platform here. I wanted you to not drop straight to the ground, but drop to the ground at some point in the level, and that will be very, very soon. I realized that there's not many checkpoints in the level, and this is a pretty good spot to put one, so I decided this is a good spot to put one, I know. I put an options trigger here. I re-enabled the player 1 controls and made it touch trigger, so that when you do land, you can move left, right, and jump. And if you can see, I can move left, right, and jump, which is awesome. I put some ground spikes here. I put taller ones so it feels a little bit more deadly. I don't know. I like it. And then I decided to do like a little orb timing. This is when I was coming up with the idea. I was like, what do I do here? Oh no. That's why I was moving my mouse around a little frantically. I was like, what do I do? Oh no. Wow. W commentary. Wow. I should be a sports commentator. I shouldn't. I couldn't do that for the life of me, but that's fine. So while I hesitate and not have any ideas and then just playtest this part again, I am going to tell you that this is near the end of the level. The level's not getting too long, but it is getting to the length I want it to be. So unfortunately, this will be the last part. It's going to be slightly longer than the other parts, but it's still going to be the last one. This part is not going to consist of any cube gameplay, as you might be fooled with my recording. But it will consist of 2 different game modes. I wanted this part to be a little special, and I wanted you to play around with other stuff. Maybe I'll do a sequel to this, making another platformer level. I'm not 100% sure. If I do, I'm going to experiment more with other game modes, but I don't 100% plan on it. So, I realized that I don't like this part as a cube. I put a start position here so I didn't have to play from right there. Realized this is a very freaking hard timing, but that's fine. It'll be just fine with another game mode, won't it? So you'll drop through this robot portal, eventually become a robot. So something that's really interesting that I didn't actually play around with this level, but I've played around with before in a platformer, is actually changing the speed. Because it doesn't like change the speed like a time warp trigger. It'll change the speed just like your horizontal momentum. So if you make a jump and it goes about 4 blocks, 4.5 blocks I think it is in normal speed, it'll go about 6 blocks in 2 times, 8 blocks in 3 times, maybe like 8 or 10. Like 8 to 10 in 4 times. And it'll go a little bit less in slow speed. So, sorry, I've been talking a lot. My breath, I want to breathe. Commentary is hard. No, it isn't, actually. So, I decided I'm going to put these 2 blocks here. I'm deciding a lot of things today. I'm sorry. I cannot talk today. I went to put this spiked little pillar down, then realized that I didn't want to do another pillar because I feel like it would have felt too samey. And I didn't want to feel too samey, so I just made it like an extra extension to the pillar. Then I continued on with this robot gameplay, but I only really know how to make hard robot gameplay, and I didn't want this level to be too hard. I wanted your average person to be able to beat it. You're not the person who decided to install the game for fun, but the person that actually knows what's going on. They're different people. So, I put this spike right here. And this block here, and I decided, instead of connecting it right as an extension, I decided to like hook it a little bit, and of course have to add my corner block. Very important. I wish RobTop like added the other, like the one that has the shading on the edge and that one little part. But that's fine, I guess. Doing a little playtesting. Making sure this part is actually good. Because I don't want bad gameplay on my level. It's my level. I don't want it to be bad. That goes for most people's levels, I hope. Unless its core intent is to be bad. That's a few levels. It's a few. So I decided to put this wall here because this is going to mark the next game mode for the last part. So I guess you can technically count them as 2 different parts, this robot part and then this next part that I'll reveal the game mode when I actually place the game mode down. Which is now. Soon. Not now. I just lied to you. I'm sorry. I don't want to be a liar. Okay, now I did it. I'm going to do a jetpack part. You might think, well, that's the ship. Well, if you have not played platformer enough, this is the jetpack in platformer mode for some reason. It's the same thing, but it's a different... I don't know, I think it looks cool. It was a good idea. RobTop, very good idea. So I wanted to make this part a little bit hard. It is literally right at the end of the level, so I didn't want to make it a little bit too evil, but I wanted to make it a little evil, okay? I wanted to have a little fun with it. So I moved this over, realized that's way too evil in a little bit. Didn't realize that at the moment, but that's fine. Playtesting, then realizing I'm really bad at the robot game mode for some reason. Then tried to do this jetpack part and realized that is really hard. So, also realized that that's not a free mode and I need that. It's kind of important. I think the portals should automatically be in free mode and platformer. You know how like the orbs are automatically multi-activate? But that's just my opinion. I have opinions. I'm sorry. So one of the things, I'm just going to go on like a mini little, not rant, but it's just something that I find cool about this game because I've been complaining a lot and I want to not be like that the whole video. In Electroman Adventures, the 13th level of the game came out in Update 1.6, same as Clubstep, the lovely demon level, which we all know and love. Clubstep monsters, my beloved. I made one at the end of the level. Oh, sorry, spoilers. It introduces the breakable blocks, which might be a block that you might have forgotten. And I don't know about you, but I didn't forget it. I kind of wish it was a little bit more used in Electroman Adventures, but that's fine, honestly. I don't think it was needed to be explained a lot more. I like that it was brought back in Theory of Everything 2 as like a little part in the ship part, and I really like that. I like that that's not the way they introduced RobTop introduced it, but I loved the gimmick. 2v2 is probably one of my favorite levels. It's a very unpopular opinion, but I don't know. One of my favorite levels. Doing the ship part here, I decided we're just going to go up here and then not continue going up because I don't want this level to be too long. So, this is going to be the end of the level. This is where I'm cutting it out over here. And then you're probably like, that's really hard. That's like literally one block gap for a supposedly easy level. Are you okay? Are you okay in the mind? Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. I am okay in the... Well, maybe. I'm okay. I decided to... Before realizing that that's a really hard gap for no reason, I decided to nerf it in a way that you wouldn't expect. Instead of putting like a half spike down, well, you'll see what I do. But first, Clubstep Monster, I had the idea, I wanted to do it, and I told you, I know. I put some yellow orbs for his eyes. I was going to do red orbs, but I decided against it. Looking back, I should have done red orbs, but that's fine. Probably like, why are you buffing it? That's really weird. That's not something you normally do. Well, I put a mini portal down. I wanted this to be mini because I did want a little bit of mini gameplay in this level. I'm kind of sad I didn't do it a little earlier. Oh, whoa. I decided to put spikes here just so it feels a little bit more, I don't know, hard. I'm kind of sad I didn't put spikes on the next part here. Unfortunately, I didn't. But that's fine. So I decided to put this end trigger. So, if you don't know, in classic levels, when you get to the end of the level, there is a wall that appears. And you don't need an end trigger. I mean, you can place one and it will end at that end trigger, but you don't need one. In platformer mode, there is no end wall, unfortunately. So you have to place one of these end triggers. And it will do exactly what you think it will do. You hit it, it ends the level. You can let it spawn groups. It's really cool. There's certain like interesting things you can do with it. So now I want to do some background color changes. I wanted to make this level feel a little fun. I just made the ground copy the color of the background. And it's time-lapse time, where I make colors of the background change, but I don't want to do it at one time speed because that's kind of boring to watch. That's the whole segment part, by the way. Start saying that 10 times fast. I decided I'm going to go with a purple for this part. Playtest it, make sure it actually turns purple, which it did very well as well. I like that purple. It's a little musty, but it feels nice. In this dropper section, I wanted to make it like a gray. Which may be like, that's kind of boring. Why are you going to make it a gray? And I don't have a 100% an answer for you. But I don't know. I feel like it fits. In this robot part, I decided to make the color of the background a nice dark blue. Realizing that it isn't changing the background color, and then I made it change the background color. And I did want to change it for this ship part. And I made it change to a nice pinkish red. Which, admittedly, is a little bit more pink than red, or a little more red than pink, rather. But it's fine. And at the end, I wanted to change the background to a nice green, but then, well, I wanted to change it to a lot of colors, but then I decided on a green. And then I realized I don't like that. I don't want it to be a green. So yes, you go into the end and it turns green, but I wanted to go to its default color, back to the first color. I want it to like loop. So now it's showcase time. Thank you guys so much for watching. The level ID will be on screen right now. I hope you enjoyed the showcase. Bye!